Welcome to Raw Dog Gaming. This is the Raw Dog speaking, where I give you raw game reviews and raw first impressions of games. This is one of my raw game reviews. This is a raw review of the Nioh 3 alpha demo. So I guess actually it's kind of also like the raw impression, because it is a demo and it is an alpha. So I guess it's also kind of like a raw impression, but it's also a review because I beat the demo. Well, you know, let's just get into it. So anyway, if you haven't heard, and if you're new to my channel, then you'll know right now, I'm a big fan of Nioh. I love the Nioh games. I started playing in the alpha and betas of Nioh 1, and I was struck, man. These games are good. I was heartstruck, you know. These games are amazing. I love the Nioh series. They're my favorite Souls-likes. Well, kind of. Kazan kind of dethroned it. We'll see. Nioh 3 the alpha is looking really good, but there are some problems I have with it that I am kind of leaning towards liking Kazan more. So we'll see. But for the time being, we're talking about Nioh 3. So let's talk. Nioh 3 is really good. I really enjoyed the alpha. The game is really awesome. I was really happy to see how good it is because I was really worried after Rise of the Ronin. If you don't know, I hate Rise of the Ronin. I detest it. I really didn't like that game. I liked it at first, and by the end of the game, I really hated it. But that's for another time. I'm not going to go over that again now. So, but because it's made by the same company, or at least by the same team, kind of, it's Team Ninja still. So, or at least it's Koei Tecmo. Anyway, the point I'm getting at is that because of this, I was really worried that Nioh 3 was going to follow more in the footsteps of Rise of the Ronin, and it was not going to be good. But thank God it did not. It is so good. I'm really happy with it. I would say the only thing I don't like, and it does kind of follow in the same way of Rise of the Ronin, is that the parry is not blocking. The parry is a different thing where it's the button where you switch your weapons. So they're trying to force you to do, not really switch weapons, they're trying to force you to switch styles. They're trying to force you to use two different styles now, whereas before, in Nioh 1 and 2, you kind of just grabbed your weapon, grabbed your style, and you just played through the game with that, which I prefer. But I digress. Let's keep talking. They're trying to have you do more of this style changing, where you have ninja style and samurai style. So you don't just do one style or the other. You're not purely a samurai anymore, or technically whatever you were, because you're kind of were both. Anyway, the point of the matter is now you are literally both, because you can have style switches between ninja and samurai. Now, I don't entirely like this because, like I said, the parry is the style shift button. Now, granted, they made it pretty forgiving, so that's good. That's very good. So when you hit the style shift, that becomes your parry, and as long as you're style shifting when the enemy hits you, parry that hit. And it's gotta be one of those big like red hits. I would call it like a critical hit. It's gotta be one of those. But yeah, like I said, it's pretty darn forgiving, which is good. But the problem I still have is that it's still not block, which I always don't like that when games are like, hey, your parry is a different button than your block button. So if you parry and you miss the timing, you're just gonna get wrecked. I don't like that. But at least it's more forgiving and it still kind of works better. Because that is what Rise of the Ronin did, and I really didn't like that. Anyway, to get back to the point here, I don't like how it's forcing you to change styles though. Now, granted, there is a skill that you get pretty late in the demo actually, and it better be unlocked like in the beginning of the actual game. I really hope that it is. I hope they learn from this demo and bump it up to like the beginning of the game to unlock this skill. That there is a skill that makes so that you can just tap the button lightly and it still does the parry part of the shift, but you don't actually shift weapons. So I really hope they make that a starting skill because I don't like being forced to style shift all the time. I like the weapon I'm using. I like the style I'm using. I don't like having to try to devote my character to two different styles. You're playing a game like this where you're building stats and all this stuff, like Souls. You're used to trying to stick to one stat, at least primarily, and then like health and endurance as well. But the game is trying to force you to pick multiple stats, and I don't like that too much. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get at is that I don't like having switch stats like that. So I hope they don't. I hope they kind of make it so that you can have that skill early on. But the good thing is that they made it so that a lot of the weapons share the same stats now. So if you're going to go for this, you probably should also choose this weapon. Like I chose dual swords because I like dual swords. So if you're going to go for dual swords, you should also go for single sword because they share the same stats. But also they share the same stats with spear, which I ended up going with spear instead. And actually, spear works really nicely for my samurai set. I have a samurai spear and ninja dual swords. Now, what I don't like about this is that they are confined to certain styles. Dual swords is only in ninja. Spear is only in samurai. Now, it kind of makes sense. I shouldn't say kind of, it does make sense. But the problem I have is that it's very limiting. I don't like being limited in games like this. You know, in Dark Souls, you can just pick up the weapon you use and just use it whatever. This is the weapon you use. It doesn't matter what style you're in. You can always use all the weapons. You can use with all the armor. You can use with all the abilities. Like, the weapons are just universal. I don't like how these weapons are defined to this style. I have to be in ninja style to use the weapon. I have to be in samurai style to use the weapon. I don't like that. I have to be in ninja style to use these skills. I have to be in samurai style to use these skills. I don't like that. I liked how original Nioh was, where I had access to all the things at once. It felt much cleaner. I don't like this having to, you know, shift style and stuff. I don't like it as much. But the game still works. It's still a good game. I still had a lot of fun with it. I just don't like it as much. Now, the skill trees were very bare. So hoping that, you know, the skill trees get a lot better in the complete game, obviously. I'm looking forward to that. The skill trees were a lot better before. And that's another thing I'm not liking. The dual swords, I love dual swords. Dual swords in Nioh were great. They were practically broken how good they were. When you fought human-based enemies, there was a combo with dual swords that was practically broken, and you practically stun-lock enemies. It was so good. And now, they made it so that the combo was completely gone. They just completely took every bit of that combo out for the dual blades now, or at least because they changed it to ninja. So the way you use the dual swords is completely different. Every attack animation is different. The whole way you attack with them is completely different. I don't like that. I'm really annoyed by all these things because they just changed everything about like the way I play about my favorite weapons and everything. They just changed all these things, and I'm really dissatisfied with that. So I actually ended up using spear throughout most of the demo, and dual swords only if I really needed to or after I style shifted. So I'm really not happy with that because I like dual swords, and I usually always use dual swords. I'm really just not satisfied with that. But that's what happened, and that's why I'm still saying I think Kazan is still my preferred Souls-like now. I think I just like Kazan better. Anyway, so Nioh 3 was a really good demo. I like the space. I like how it's going open world, but I also kind of like how it's still sticking into like having missions, having certain things that you go and do. Like, it's open world, but it's not 100% open world. It feels more like open zone, open area. Like you have this open area to explore, but it's still a limited area, and it's not 100% open. There are still things you could do. There are still some invisible walls here and there. There are still like ways that keep you trapped and things. You do have a jump. You have a dedicated jump, which is pretty awesome. And that you can also double jump too, which is pretty nice. So that's nice, and it makes exploring really interesting. But like I said, there's still like things you want to do with it, and it didn't feel overwhelmingly big. It didn't have so much to do either. So it didn't feel so stupidly open worlded. It felt more like how Elden Ring was doing it, where actually it felt better than Elden Ring. Elden Ring felt massive in a bad way, where you could just like get really lost and have ridiculous things to do, and just none of them they wouldn't really serve a lot of purpose. Whereas with the way that Nioh was, it was more condensed, so it felt like I was still going to do certain things and progressing through certain goals to do certain things. It didn't feel like I was wandering aimlessly. I knew where I was going, and I knew what I was doing to get there. And I knew where like this would take me here, and this would have this to solve this problem over here. I liked that. So I do think it's a little bit better being condensed, and it just doesn't feel like it's too big. So it's good. It needs to be a really good feel to it. So yeah, the Nioh 3 alpha demo was really good, and for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I do hope they fix up that stuff with the style shifting. I really would hope that they change a few things. Pretty much what I would love to see them fix in the demo is I would love to see them make it so that all weapons are available regardless of what style you're in, and that you don't have to actually shift your style to parry. Now I know that is a skill, but I mean, like, stop it from being a skill. Just have a set something you have in the game. Period. You can always just lightly tap it and it does it. It doesn't have to be a skill. It's just part of the game. So that's what I would say. But besides that, the game was still good. I enjoyed everything that I have in the game so far. I enjoyed using the skills that I unlocked. There were some good skills, there were some bad skills. I didn't really see a lot of good combo skills, but like I said, we'll see more because it's only the alpha demo. So yeah, there was a lot of interesting stuff in there. There was a lot more interesting ninja, like ninjutsu stuff. So we'll see how these things go. But for now, it was a really fun game, really interesting. I can't wait to see more from the demo. I hope it's gonna be a beta. I'll definitely jump on that and I'll give a review of the beta. And of course, when the game comes out itself, we'll get reviews there and we'll get impressions. So I hope you enjoyed this raw review of Nioh 3 alpha demo, and I hope to see you back here for more later. And if you want, you can like, subscribe, and all that stuff. So I hope to see you back later. Bye bye.